We've all seen the movie The Matrix. It was interesting and fun on the big screen of the TV, but has it become a bit too real in your own life? Are you seeing glitches in the Matrix and trying to figure out what's happening? Have you been told that you've been tricked and that you need to fight against what they've done to you? The deception. Whether you're just beginning to notice, or if you've been searching for a more peaceful and congruent way to live without battling them, you're in the right place. I'm Ken, and I'll be joined by Eliza and Rena Stella. Let's explore together on the Liberty Ark. Welcome back to the Liberty Ark Podcast. We're here for episode 9, and I'm Ken. I'm here with Eliza and Rena Stella. How are you folks?
Doing great. So happy to be here with you both.
Likewise. Happy to be here, guys.
We need to get pointers. You guys can just do like that to say, okay, you talk.
Yes.
Then you just have to figure out which direction you're pointing to who based on how it's shown on the screen, right? All right.
That's
we
right.
will get right into the reading from the Great International Heist from Rebecca and Jonathan Rodrigues. If you've been following us, we've been working through this book and learning a lot from it and getting a lot of concepts and thoughts to discuss and resolve all the world's problems. So I'm going to have Eliza read through this, and then we will talk about it. So you are all set.
Thanks, Ken. Episode 9, Breaking the Chains of Illusion, Severing the Ties That Bind. To break free from these cycles of control, it is essential to understand and dismantle the systems that enforce them. This begins with a conscious effort to become aware of the contracts and obligations that bind us. Knowledge is power, and understanding the legal and financial frameworks that govern our lives is the first step toward liberation. Practical steps toward severing these ties include seeking true knowledge. By taking control of our financial and legal destinies, we can begin to break free from the systems that enslave us. The role of education and advocacy. Education is a powerful tool in the fight against financial and legal enslavement. By educating ourselves and others about the intricacies of these systems, we can empower individuals to make informed decisions and challenge unjust practices. Advocacy is also crucial. By supporting initiatives that promote transparency, fairness, and economic justice, we can work toward dismantling the structures of control that perpetuate inequality and bondage. Grassroots movements and community organizations play a vital role in this effort. They provide resources, support, and a platform for those affected by these issues to have their voices heard.
So we're kind of heading toward some answers, I think, in this one today. So breaking the chains of illusion. We've been talking about lots of chains and lots of illusion. So now we're going to be starting to look for ways to free ourselves from those.
Yeah, when you mentioned severing the ties that bind, it sounds harsh. But I really find it that, at least within our discussion in our group, it sounds harsh. It's not really aggressive or fighting or destruction. It's really more in a peaceful way, understanding, educating ourselves, having the knowledge to really move forward. And it's really more about liberation than quote unquote war per se. We want to stay away from that. We want to more go towards the peaceful way of moving in the peaceful way in general.
And we've talked so much about contracts. That's how these bonds, the binding, has occurred. And it hasn't been, it's been a subtle, some maybe tricky, we can call it, way in, but it hasn't been something violent in general, unless you've invoked the violence. And the same way, we'll look at how we are contracted, and that's what we've been discussing these weeks, is how we're contracted and how we uncontract, so to say.
And I also want to point something out on the initial thing that I said is when I read dismantle the system, again, it comes across very, very harsh. And I think the way I'm looking at things is more learning how to play in the system, a system that really was designed for us in a specific way that our grandparents and our parents did not capture on behalf of us, and we're capturing it now. And it's just learning how to play, learning how to use it the proper way that should have been used from the initiation of the creation of that system. And because we lost out on that information, the previous generations did not bring it forward to us. I think that's where we are now, is learning and educating and getting that knowledge so we can utilize it for us and our future generations.
And we're not doing anything aggressive back. We're liberating ourselves from the controllers, not attacking the controllers.
I think one of the big things that we will all learn together, and maybe we have learned, is that this has been a voluntary system. Now, it may have been a tricky one, but the fact that it's been voluntary it's like a big wake up comprehension, because you want to say, I don't think so. I didn't agree to that. I didn't agree to that. But what we're talking about is voluntary, and we have somehow consented. We've implied consent, or we haven't said no when something's done, so therefore it stands. So that's a big part of the learning, is how we got there, and that's what we're going, that's what we've been discussing and will discuss. And then how do we move away from it towards freedom?
Yeah, so you haven't been forced into anything, but you've been led into something that you haven't recognized was the trap, basically. And getting out of that trap begins with the conscious effort to become aware of the presence of those contracts and the resulting obligations. That's what the key. That's what I say over and over. Awareness is the beginning of everything.
Mm-hmm. It's the key thing. Mm-hmm. And then we lead to knowledge is power. Sure, knowledge is power if we utilize the knowledge. Or if, once we become aware, we search for that knowledge and then utilize it. But if we stay stagnant, right? Now you're aware and you continue in the path you were before, then it's useless, right?
And I think that's what leads people to anger and frustration, is if you don't even know what's going on, you're not angry with it because you don't even know that anything's being done. You're just kind of mad at the world maybe, but you don't have any point of anger, right? But once people become aware, they have the tendency to point out there and say, you did this to me, and get angry. And that doesn't accomplish anything. Because again, they didn't force it on you. They may have tricked you, but they didn't force it on you. It's our own participation that got us into all our messes.
And we have to remember from the previous discussions we've had with you is we need to be seeking the truth, not what we've been told, not what we learned in school, not what our atmosphere has taught us, but what is the truth and where do I go from there?
And I love this first sentence. I could take that and just work with this, because number one, it says this information isn't going to be just given to you without search. So it's a conscious effort. Okay, this is something. It's a decision to become aware of the contracts and obligations, because you may be asking, I'm not aware of any contracts and obligations. I know it's something. So it's this conscious decision to now become aware. And that could be years of studying, worthwhile studying. And I think there's also a process, say that, they say that there are the 6 stages of grief. There's anger, and then there's eventually acceptance, and then eventually you're at peace to do something about it. So you will let yourself go through that, but don't let it, those initial steps, but don't let it cripple you.
And I think, personally speaking, Eliza, with that point, personally speaking, I went through those stages. I was very angry at first. As a mom, having 4 kids, and then learning about this, I was like, what? Right? So I went through those stages, but very quickly, from anger to, gaining that, searching for the truth and getting to the right people to learn it from peacefully, is what brought me that, the anger removed, and that peace came right away. As soon as I started developing that knowledge, it really, really helped. The anger's out of the way. But initially, sure, you've been through this for how long? A long time. And you realize it's just an illusion. It's just a system. It's a huge machine. And we really do not need to be bonded or in bondage. We can definitely, work our way out of it the moment we are aware and we continue searching for the truth.
And it can really turn into a fun challenge. To me, that's what it is. Understanding where I've created my own problems and looking for how it's the strategy and the challenge of how to make it work for you is fun to me.
I think if you have the right people around you that make it fun, because we've done some funny things and fun things, and have come up with some creative games, and we've made it fun. And though it's very challenging at times, I think we spoke about it a couple nights ago. I like hard, so it later becomes easy. I like the challenge. And as soon as we get through that hard and that challenge, we want another one. We want a new one. And that keeps us going, and that keeps us growing as well.
And there is no end to it. There's no arrival. Mm-hmm. There's a journey.
There's a journey, but I'm a complete different individual from when before I had this information, and it wasn't too long ago, to now. Like the way I see things when I'm out on the streets, when I'm if I glance at the television, when I hear the news, complete way of looking at things, a new lens, 100%. But the empowerment that we get, it's huge. And the peace that we also get, even though we know when you hear it and it's like, well, that's a bunch of BS, right? And our action now, or our reaction now, is completely different than before. It was like you're paying attention, like if they're feeding me all the right things, right? And I'm getting ready to act based on what they're feeding me. Today, it's like, okay, right? You're like, yeah, right. So anyways, when you start looking at everything completely different.
And you said the machine there, and that it's a system that loves control, but it isn't just a machine. It doesn't care. Just remember that, but it does feed off of our high emotion. So I think one thing that I learned, and maybe we have all learned, that's that there are a lot of distraction groups out there that are high emotion and angry. And that's if, we are sharing our growth, but if I could personally give a piece of advice, it would be to shy away from that as part of your growth, because I don't think that we find growth in the anger side, but that's part of the machine to keep people angry, high emotion, and it may lead to ignorance of the pathway for redemption and freedom, which is what we want. So that conscious effort should be on the let's look for knowledge and peaceful awareness.
And Eliza, you mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, did I hear it correctly? You mentioned the machine tends to they don't really care for us. Is that some what you mentioned a second ago?
Yes, I don't believe that it's not personal.
That's
not personal.
It's all business. It's nothing personal.
It's just business. They don't care how you feel. Right. They don't care if they hurt your feelings. They don't care even if, they make you happy because you may think, that makes me happy. But it is something that we need to learn.
Yeah, but the crazy part to that point of the care, right? Isn't it funny, though, that everything that's said to us is as if they care for us. Yes or no? It's an illusion. They make us believe. They make us believe they care for us. Mm-hmm. When in reality, we're the last thing on their mind. Yeah, we're being used and abused, right? But they do not, but they definitely make us believe it. They feed it in all angles from everywhere. They make us believe that this is for you and this is the best thing for you. And yeah, it's just crazy how, again, Eliza, you mentioned they don't care. It's all business, nothing personal, yet that illusion that's presented in front of us. And that makes us take action. And usually it's the wrong action we should be taking. So
yeah, if you can hold that concept of it's all business, nothing personal, it really changes how you interact with the system, because emotions allow things outside of you to control you. High emotion is a fabulous control system. And if you don't allow your emotions to get wrapped up in the thing, you can maintain logical thinking. But if you start letting yourself get angry, it's so funny when people will say, he or she made me mad. I mean, that's physically impossible. Nobody can make you angry. You make yourself angry based on your interpretation of what the other people did. And it's funny because people will, like a family member or somebody that's close to you, it's very easy to get emotional with because you care what that person thinks. But somebody down the street that, you're walking down the street and somebody calls you a name or something, does it really bother you, really? I mean, it doesn't me. You don't know if they're crazy or exactly what. You don't really care because they don't hold meaning to you. This other person holds meaning to you, and therefore they can more easily control and cause you to have specific emotions. So whenever you begin to see the system as it's all business, nothing personal, it allows you to gain more control over your own decision-making capacity and remain logical and make appropriate decisions.
And it's interesting, we repeatedly bring up that it's a legal, monetary, or financial framework. That means it's a thing. That means somehow, when we keep saying they, a lot of, we're not going to get into who are they, but they is a company, it's a set of companies, banking corporations that are interacting with somehow us being contracted as a corporation that somehow is connecting us personally. that is a lot of learning to really see how are these things structured, how are these companies operating with us legally and financially, perhaps as a company, contracts to attach to us as who we truly are. And then there's a spiritual journey within that. But I would say, try to have some peace at the growth and the comprehension, we call it understanding, that it will take to even, get that knowledge so you can start your journey. But start that conscious effort to start.
Great points, Eliza. I do want to say one thing before we go to the next slide is I think we should look at knowledge aside of it being power. We should look at it as it being protection. Knowledge is protection, especially on the subject we're on.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you're right. And we're not really on a power trip where protection that's definitely a better word for what we're after. So now we're going to look at some practical steps towards severing these ties. Includes seeking true knowledge. That's what we've said over and over. So awareness and then seeking true knowledge are probably the first two important steps. Most people are still sitting in denial or total unawareness. Usually they're in total unawareness, and then as they become a little bit aware, they go into denial. And then if they hang tight, they get to the anger stage. And then you can start calming down and get to, okay, now what am I going to do about this?
And I repeat, it's not about, practical steps towards severing. It's not about like going crazy, going nuts and burning things down, right? That's not what we mean. It's about learning and really observing what really is going on around us. That's really what it's about. And again, like Ken mentioned, seeking true knowledge. So the words on these slides can definitely be very, I guess it can be interpreted, the wrong way. So we just want to make very, clarity in regards to our approach compared to other groups that may be also discussing this information.
So by taking control of our financial and legal destinies, so that's not attacking anybody else. It's not even attacking the system. It's taking back our control that's been removed from us because we allowed it to happen, even though we didn't necessarily choose to allow that control to be taken away from us. And we can break free from those systems and not be enslaved by them. That's a long discussion.
Mm-hmm. And I have, very loving friends and family who have gone into the journey of, some comprehension that we are in a system, the legal financial system, that is not working for our benefit, but for theirs. And then there's a journey to change things, to uncontract, to break free. And they said it's for them, it's just the too hard box. It takes effort, it takes time away from the movie time and the whatever else time, and that's okay. Obviously we don't love them any differently, but that's okay. Someday they may feel it's not the too hard box. I won't say too hard, the inconvenient box versus all the fun distractions in life. Remember, the distractions are there to keep people, happy, to keep people distracted. Okay, that's okay. So there are so many people that will never want to start the journey that it's denial in the first place, but then those who just choose not to. And then there are those, and it's a smaller group of us than you think, but yet it's a larger group than you think that are choosing a pathway to freedom.
Definitely
I'm loving the journey.
Growing for sure.
Yeah, growing exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
Though there has been a lot of movement to, quote unquote, I guess, hide things from us, what we're really seeking is possibly claiming what is already ours with this. It's gonna, that the path that we're on. Again, it's not about fighting, but it is definitely claiming it.
So knowledge is power. Education is kind of related to that, huh? It's a powerful tool in the fight against financial and legal enslavement. Again, we're using the word fight there, but we're not meaning that in an aggressive manner. We're meaning it as a protective manner. By educating ourselves and others about the intricacies of the system, we can empower individuals to make informed decisions and challenge unjust practices. The main thing is the making informed decisions. You really don't have to do that much challenging. That's really not a large part of how we approach this. It's the empowerment that comes to you by understanding allows you to make better decisions, because when you understand it, you're the one that made the decisions to begin with. Maybe not overtly, but you didn't make the decisions not to be participating.
And that education, what we're talking about is how we can then stand up. People say, well, how do I stand up for myself? Well, that's with the education. Therefore, you are learning, how do I, like you said, it's not the word fight, but how do I make informed decisions to challenge and stand up?
Well, one thing that I can think of we can do more often than not is asking questions. I think we should ask more questions before making a decision or making a choice. So as we go, let's start asking more questions. Question everything. Question everyone. Everyone. That's a good action step to take. Ask more questions.
And listen. All I did when I first started this journey, I just kept listening and steering away from something that didn't resonate with me, which was most of the violent or angry groups. That wasn't how I thought that I could attain knowledge, and I'm glad that I chose that.
Another concept is advocacy. What's your thoughts on that?
Advocacy, when they say it's crucial, it's how we actually support others, support our groups. How do we be an advocate? How do we be one of those who are saying yes, who are saying, the system is broken for me, and I need to be an advocate. But it's also being an advocate to your friends and family around you who are perhaps choosing to take the journey with you.
Yeah, so we have to respect, of course, also as we're discussing, as the conversation start about this topic, there are individuals who will look at us strangely or weird in a weird way, and it's totally fine. It's more so, being supportive of the people that are grasping this information and wanting to join on this path as we go. It's a journey, it's a process, and it's not for everybody. The majority of us are too busy in life to really stop and pause and really think about the benefits of really acquiring this information. But for the people that are, of course, immediately that capture this information and are wanting to go through this path, I think that's where the support comes, and there's a lot of clarity and transparency and advocacy as a group.
Yeah, humans generally are social animals, and I'm not incredibly social generally, but I guess everybody has something that they can have in common with a group, and this is my thing that I have in common with the group, and the group, you guys in particular, are incredibly important for this process of growth for me.
Likewise. So true. You become family on this journey, you'll find.
Yeah, and I think it makes it very important when it is like-minded people. It just makes it smoother. You know that you're in the right spot, right, when you have like-minded individuals surrounding you. So
yeah,
it is important.
It makes the process fun, and it the dangerous part is it can become an obsession because it's too fun.
We want more of it. 24/7, actually.
It's really
There's
true.
crazy times when I've received information from you, Ken and Eliza. I know we're all in different time zones, but it's hilarious to know. I think I remember asking you one time, Ken, wait, are you just going to sleep or are you just waking up?
And it could be either one at any moment.
Within minutes, I'm like, okay, good night. I didn't wait for the response. It was already like 1 o'clock my time, so 1 a.m.
I don't think
my time.
Ken doesn't sleep, but yeah, it becomes fun because we see ourselves and others progress on the journey. That's why when you feel, look, I'm getting nowhere, it's very easy to say either this doesn't work or I give up. There's nothing more. But when you learn, especially as a community, that there is more, and that's why we said, we have so far to go. Even though we've arrived to a certain point, we will never arrive, because the possibilities are endless. Freedom's endless. And I'm excited about that.
And before we go to the next slide, I just want to mention to you guys, that is why it's so important. Like, read this slide, and we need a supportive group to be able to get through it. Dismantling, I find it aggressive, but it's still like, it's important for us to know that we can do it alone, but when you have like-minded and supportive people around you, it definitely makes the journey a lot more smoother and fun.
Yeah. This is not a journey that I can imagine doing on my own, honestly. And I normally do everything on my own.
The crazy thing, though, Ken, is when I first ran into this information, I had my 4 young adults, my husband, my son-in-law, and myself. It was like we were like into it, like together, but we were not in the right, I guess you can call it, group, or we didn't have the right information. It was very aggressive and very warlike and very like fighting. And I'm like, we were very nervous about it. And I'm telling you, after just searching and digging and looking and finding the right people to surround you, really makes it a humongous difference in general. So like Eliza mentioned, and Ken as well, and we've confirmed, like we just want more of it now, because it gets more and more interesting as we go.
Non-ending challenge, for sure. Were you going to say something, Eliza?
No, just I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Grassroots movements and community organizations play a vital role in this effort. They provide resources, support, and a platform for those affected by these issues to have their voices heard. I'm not much of a like social activist, grassroots kind of guy, but internet provides an opening that just wasn't around before. And like, I mean, we're all over the world, right? But we can talk, and the internet makes that possible. I think the grassroots movements in the community probably was a much more important component of things in the past. And some people do that well. I don't do the local community stuff well myself. I should probably, because I think really community is going to be more and more important as things go downhill, as I think they're probably going to. And, knowing your neighbors and supporting each other is probably going to become more important. That's going to be a tough one for me because it's just not natural for me.
In general, though, community, digitally, like we do, right? Like we're all over the world. So I think that's definitely very important. But I get what you're saying. Going outdoors and meeting your immediate neighbors or even like-minded people that are doing this in your local city, yeah, I believe it does become very important, and we need to do more of it, probably on the local side. But I think while we're going through the process of the learning and the acquiring the right pieces to the puzzle, in the meantime, I think the community we're building digitally is as important as the local community.
Mm-hmm. And by learning this way, I think we can be a greater help to our community as things progress.
I was going to advocate for the same thing, that we're talking two different pieces of grassroots movement and community. One is that you form will probably be digital, with others on the internet, as you progress in your education, and then we will carry that to the community. In the community, it may be community gardens, it may be community learning, etc. But we can't discount either, because a lot of the locals say it is just a community garden or whatever. But what we may find is the learning of what are these contracts, what are the constraints. We may not have the rights with all of that we think we do, if we don't learn exactly how a few things operate and how we can make a difference and then carry them forward into the physical community.
Yeah, I see a lot of that as kind of us preparing ourselves to be the one that gets leaned on whenever stuff goes crazy out there in our local area.
I guess you can call it maybe the leaders, maybe that, right, of our local community. But everything else is going digital, right? We're ahead of the game. We're building a community digitally. So that, I think, I agree with you, Ken. I think it does become a powerful tool for us, because we can now transition that into a local community, the information that we've acquired as a group.
Okay. Well, that's the end of the reading. You guys have anything additional that you want to kick in this evening?
I think we covered a lot. We really have. We've gone through some weeks with this podcast on this. It is an amazing book. If you really read it, and there are a lot of maybe new words for you, big words, new concepts. But going through this, it started out saying there are issues here. There's a problem. There's a concern. And now we're at the point of saying, what are the solutions, which is what we've promised all along. Let's start looking at what we can do now that we've identified perhaps there's something to look into. So this has been a fantastic podcast for me.
And I just want to repeat what was said at the very beginning. It's all business, nothing personal. Take that with you, and you will understand it very soon.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge, huge concept for people to capture. Difficult one, but really, really important, I think. All right, guys. Well, I will close things down, and we'll get back at this next one, which will be episode 10. We're cranking through them. I can't believe these are going this fast.
It's been fun so far, so let's keep it going.
It has. All right. You guys have a great week.
Have a good night.
Likewise.
Good day, Eliza.
Love. Thank you.
Love you guys.
See you soon.
The views expressed in this Liberty Ark podcast are for informational and educational purposes only. They do not constitute legal or tax advice, and they may not reflect the official positions of anyone at all, really. We want to express our appreciation to the authors of the unpublished manuscript titled The Great International Heist, on which the Liberty Ark podcast is based. Rebecca and Jonathan Rodrigues, the authors, provide courses that go into much greater depth and are available at libertyarkpodcast.com/White Rabbit.